Yes, a very good evening to all our friends right here. Welcome down to the program right here brought to you by the Geylang Serai Wojo CC. Happy Sunday, and I hope that all our friends right here has celebrated your Father's Day on this very joyous occasion, okay? So while you're actually still having your family outing, or maybe some of your, some people are actually having their family dinner right now for this very special day to commemorate, your fathers and all that, do join us as well right here, because today itself we're going to bring you this program called the Market Outlook, where we'd like to share with you what is the current trend and also possible things that's going to happen right here in the market itself, okay? And right now, let's pan the screen to the slide. Yes, for the Market Outlook, which is also known as 市场展望, right here, we're just going to be a bilingual program that we like to share with you all sorts of things that's happening right here in Singapore and also overseas as well, where you can actually immediately know on what is going on in the world and also potentially how it can impact you and your future life. So with that right here for today as well, we'd like to share with you that also do come forward to interact with us, because today itself, we're going to be giving out 2 lucky draw prizes to our friends right here, and what you need to do is just to come forward and answer the question, and instantly you'll be getting a chance for yourself to walk away with this special prize right here, brought to you by the program organizer. And of course, today we are pretty lucky to have Mr. Zack Yang itself, where he's actually the co-founder of FOMO Pay. So Yang Zong today right here is actually a very young gentleman, and you wouldn't believe that what he has achieved, right? I will just give you a little bit of a heads up right now, because later on you will be hearing from the horse's mouth itself on how he actually managed to actually got himself acquired within less than 5 years of his entrepreneurship journey. So Zhang is actually also listed under the Forbes Asia 30 under 30 itself, which is actually one of the very prestigious award in the world itself for people that is actually very enterprising and someone who has contributed in their scene who are below 30 years old. And he's also a Singapore FinTech leader as well, and a Nanyang Outstanding Young Alumni. And of course, he's actually the council member as well for the Forbes Finance Council and Global Innovator of World Economic Forum. So right now, let's pan the screen to Mr. Yang, which is Zack Yang itself.
Hi everyone.
是杨总，今天非常开心能够邀请到你来现场哈。
你好。
是的。Okay, so today we're going to be doing a bilingual program, but I understand that you were originally from China, right?
Yes.
And just wanted to know, how did the journey from China to Singapore, and maybe some background about yourself first, and before you kickstart your journey in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so actually, like more than 10 years ago, I was very lucky to get the scholarship actually to study here in the NTU, Nanyang Technological University. So it's under the scholarship of the Ministry of Education. So at that time, actually, because I was born in China, so I know nothing really about Singapore.
Yeah.
But actually, in one of the book, actually talking about actually Singapore Inc. So it's not really Singapore as a country, but Singapore as really a startup itself. So that's something really, really impressed me a lot. Then after being here, I realized, wow, Singapore is really well organized actually, and also well run by the government itself. It's really like a kind of like a really big company here. So that's something really actually inspired me quite a lot, and that's why also back in my school days, so keep really inspiring by so many new innovation. So that's why I also started my own company during my school days here in the NTU.
So which part of China were you from?
So originally I was born in Chongqing. 我是重庆人。
哦，重庆人好会吃辣。
是，麻辣火锅 yes。
我最想念的就是那个抄手，对吧？
Yeah, 有个红油抄手也，老麻抄手也。
老麻抄手 ，Oh my God, that is something that I really, really love back then when I was in China, because I also studied in China. Wow. I mean the other way around. You studied in Singapore and I studied in China, and that was all the food that we like. So you mean MOE actually went over to China for
Correct.
Scouting of talents and all that.
Yes, correct.
And you're supposed to give back like a 5-year study bond kind of thing, and
yes.
you end up more than 5 years.
Correct. Yes.
And now I believe that you're calling Singapore home, right?
Yeah, so now after staying here for more than 10 years, so yeah, it's already actually I have already settled down here. So I realized I really actually I really learned a lot actually from Singapore itself, and right now I also really willing to really contribute back to the society as well.
Sure, that's great. And I believe that you are a father now?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I
Because
just wanted to say.
my company actually is still my baby, so
Still your baby.
so I still need to actually take care of this baby before I have my
see.
own.
I originally
baby,
wanted
yeah.
to thank you for sacrificing your Father's Day dinner here.
Yeah, if let's say if I already have my baby, so I don't think actually my
You'll
family
be
will
here.
allow me here. Yes.
What about your dad? Is he currently in China or in Singapore?
Yeah,
already?
my family is still in China at the moment because of the COVID, but I do have the plan actually to take them over to Singapore. Yeah, hope after the COVID.
Yeah, hopefully next year we can really celebrate,
next year.
like Father's Day in person, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. I was just having these Facebook posts just today on my Facebook itself. I was telling people that thank your father, and all that, because a lot of people actually that I know of, they are either foreigners, expats and all that, which really doesn't have a chance to even hug our dad or even celebrate together in person, okay? But anyway, back to your story. So I know that you started FOMO Pay during the time when you were in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so how did that actually happen?
Yeah, sure. So that was more than 7 years ago. So when we were back actually in the school days, so we did actually some other like a startup project as well. So at that time we did some startup focusing on the hardware business. It went actually quite successful. So actually all the school, all the university quite like the startup idea.
Yeah.
But because it's really limited to the hardware business, so it's very, very hard for us to really survive, especially after the graduation.
Yeah.
Like a few of us co-founder, we are all engineers. And you know that in Singapore, it's not really easy to really afford the salary of all those engineers. So that's why we decided, no, we need to actually find something else to really at least actually pay us to cover everyone's salary as an engineer here. So that's why we decided to don't really limit ourselves to the hardware, but let's try to find something in the software side. And at that time, actually, we are quite lucky to have some of our partners in China as well. So like WeChat under actually Tencent, they are also trying to look for some of the overseas partners to help them to promote the digital payment. That was 7 years ago. So we don't even know actually what's something called FinTech, which is so popular right now. But at that time, we don't know even about the FinTech. What we only know is that actually we are just doing a digital payment campaign at that time. That's really the beginning. So we also help actually WeChat to ask around, is there any of the clients willing to try the WeChat Pay solution overseas? And some of our pioneer clients, the first one is like StarHub. So for every like a Chinese tourist, so they do need to pay by their own mobile wallet actually to top up or buy the new SIM card here in Singapore. And another one is also SPH for the Singapore Press Holding. They also have their top selling publication, which is 联合早报. It's super popular in China. But the Chinese people, most of them, they don't really have Visa, MasterCard. So it's very hard for them to really subscribe the overseas publication. So that's why it went actually quite successful for these two pioneer clients. So that's why actually we launched this digital payment together with WeChat Pay and some of the clients. And then it really went like a viral. So a lot of merchants, they all think this is exactly the problem that they are facing right now. They do have actually the product or the service, want to actually sell to China market or sell to the overseas Chinese, but they don't really have the payment method preferred by the Chinese people. So that's how actually we are really helping them to really increase the new market to more markets overseas. So that's how actually we really started the whole campaign. Initially with the Chinese payment only, but right now with all the local payment and also international payment. So you see that we also accept all the new digital wallet, like Razer launched their digital payment, Shopee, Grab, Singtel Dash, or DBS Payla, or all the bank also have a Pay Now. So that's how actually FOMO Pay right now already becomes a really one stop platform to connect to all those digital wallets.
I can see that you really take advantage of your personal background in terms of like understanding of the Chinese market versus the Singapore market, bringing a giant, which is WeChat Tencent, right, to
Yeah.
Singapore. And how do you actually manage to secure such a big, large, multi-corporation like StarHub and also SPH during your school days, right?
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you guys did it?
Yeah, that's actually not easy, but as what we shared just now, really something we learned actually from Singapore, so-called the Singapore Inc. itself. Because
Yeah.
Singapore, as a country, we don't have actually a lot of resources here.
Yeah.
What we only have here, it's just people, it's just the talent.
Yeah.
So Singapore is really like a hub,
Yeah.
but like a hub, you can really get actually something actually good from this place, then to another place. That's exactly what we did actually from FOMO Pay here. We are also like the hub, also like the bridge, try to connect the different market. So here we know that actually the business provider, a lot of actually product here in Singapore is very popular in China.
Yeah.
So that's actually where actually we are taking advantage of here in Singapore.
Yeah.
And in China, a lot of Chinese companies, they don't really understand the overseas market. So that's where actually they also need some help. So like us, we understand both the China and also the overseas market. So
Yeah.
that's why actually we really started with this bridge. So with something really small, but
Yeah.
at least it's really the real problem that actually people are facing. So if we don't solve it, I think, so the problem is going to be there. So as an engineer, why not? Actually, we just solve this problem ourselves.
And that's indeed amazing. And I also learned that this entrepreneurship journey has brought you into a new height recently. You actually started a company for less than 5 years and you got acquired by a Hong Kong listed company. That's really amazing. How do you guys did it? and how did the opportunity come about?
Sure. So like all those like acquisition, it's really done happen overnight. It's not really a easy decision. It really took a very long period actually for us to really think through all the costs and benefit. So look at actually the Southeast Asia here. So I don't know whether the audience actually also got some other like maybe like founders, or maybe someone you also try to start up your own company in one day. But one of the most popular questions you will be asked when you try to do the fundraising from the investor, they will ask you, what's your exit strategy? So meaning that like, are you trying to actually go for the M&A, which is the merger and acquisition, or you want to really go IPO yourself?
Yeah.
But really the hard truth that we must say here, in Singapore, such as a small market, or in Southeast Asia here, it's not really so easy actually for a company to really go IPO yourself. Especially for us, FOMO Pay, we are purely like a B2B. We are mainly serving all the corporate clients. So the market is also quite actually competitive rather than the consumer market, which actually the market is much, much larger. Yeah. So that's why we realized that it's not easy for us to go for IPO ourselves. And that's why we think, okay, maybe
M&A is the best
M&A
choice.
is still actually
Yeah.
better choice over the IPO ourselves. And also last year, due to the COVID, so a lot of our clients also got a kind of like affected. So some of our largest clients, like Singapore Airlines, Changi Airport, all actually went through a quite actually tough period. Yeah, but for us, we see this one, it's not only like a threat, but also we see this COVID, the pandemic, it's also as an opportunity. Because due to the COVID, that actually we got the time to really take a break, or to think about actually what's really the value we are providing.
Yeah.
So a few years back, we started as a payment company. But right now, we are not only doing the payment itself, but we are really playing the infrastructure of really the digital banking. So a lot of our actually clients actually, they are not really well served by some of the actually the product or services provided by the bank right now. So that's why actually they need the help from FinTech like us. So that's where actually we also got a chance to rethink about our value. So we don't want to really limit ourselves as a payment company, but right now we are also providing the digital banking service. As a licensed financial institution.
Yeah, indeed, I think that you're really an opportunist, because I can see that from the FinTech world back then during WeChat time, and next is actually M&A with a listco. Now you're part of a listco's 老总, right? I would say. And then next right now, while Singapore is actually having this buzz of digital banking and all that, you're already there building the infrastructure for the whole digital bank to come in. So while all the digital banking license holder and all that come into the picture, you're there to actually serve them.
Yeah, correct.
Right, that is
Yeah.
indeed fantastic. Okay, so without further ado right now, let's go into the program proper. We have talked about COVID and stuff like that. So right now, let's take a look at the slide itself. So yes, today's program and the main thing right here is to talk about this thing called the contactless payment in the new normal of post-COVID-19. And right now, time to FOMO Pay, which is Zack itself, which he's going to share with us on this thing called the 移动支付, right,
Yep,
during
in
this
Chinese.
post-COVID world itself. And back to Zhang. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure. So, before my, so maybe before my presentation, let me give everyone a little bit background about FOMO Pay, because FOMO Pay, we are more into the B2B service provider, meaning that we are serving all the corporate clients. So we are not really well known for the retail clients. So FOMO Pay, actually, we got the MS, which is the Central Bank FinTech Award back in few years ago. And due to the effort that actually we are promoting the cashless payment, which is the digital or the mobile payment solution in the whole market. And really, it's really coincident with the Smart Nation initiative from the government. So during the last few years, we are working with all the different digital wallets, as I mentioned, like Grab, Shopee, all those Singtel Dash, Razor Pay, all those newly launched wallets, as well as also the existing financial institutions. So here, what listed is some of the financial institutions that we worked, including Visa, Citibank, OCBC Bank, or the DBS Bank. So we are kind of like the innovation arm, trying to help them to do the digital transformation or the innovation. So here is also some of the clients of FOMO. So even you as a consumer, you cannot really download the app to use it yourself, but you can really go to our clients, which is a corporate. So you can actually enjoy our product and services over all those merchants. Yeah, here is one of the most asked questions that during last year, during the pandemic, it's really who led the digital transformation of your company. And that's actually also something that we did actually for the past few years' time. So here is a few options. Number one, your CEO. Number two, it's your CTO. Or number three, actually it's COVID-19. And for the most of the business owner, or actually for both of the corporate, the actual answer does not really go to their CEO or CTO, but the answer is really the COVID-19. So that's really what's really the impact of this pandemic to every one of us. So that's also something we see this one more really as an opportunity for every one of us to learn from this pandemic itself. And this is also something they call the fourth industrial revolution, because you see that within the last year, you see most of the digital payment, contactless payment, or the e-commerce, it's really growing somehow between 20% to 40% in most of the industry. So a lot of us, we didn't try the food delivery before, but last year, that's something really we use every day. Initially, we used to go to all the shopping mall, but because right now shopping mall always actually have some of the social distance issue, or sometimes we are just actually under the lockdown. We cannot really go to the shopping mall physically. That's why the e-commerce also getting popular. So that's actually all the new clients that are working with us using the digital payment, because the digital payment actually itself actually come with the nature. It actually serves all those contactless or the digital payment. And here is also a quick background about the payment world. So digital payment or the mobile payment actually does not really dominate the world in most of the countries in the world, because in the history of the payment, cash has been really dominating for thousands of years. until actually then we have some of the coin like a gold bar, or maybe some check actually was invented. But in one of the recent innovation in this technology space, it's really the credit card. So around 70 years ago, around 1950, in US side, actually one of the famous player called the Diners Club invented this credit card for all those like diners. So initially, everyone need to actually come here, pay for cash. But right now with the credit card, so it's all the like a regular customer, they can now use their credit to spend. So that's why actually they invented the credit card. But it's around like only around 10 years ago, in around like 2009. So due to the birth of the e-commerce, all those like a new internet company, so it really gives the birth of the mobile payment, or the digital payment, we call it today. So that's how actually we are actually now enjoying all the like a benefit from this new technology. Yeah, so here we want to also share with everyone a quick video of the history of the payment, and also what's really the cost of cash. So at least actually I want everyone to have one takeaway today, is to understand that cash is not really free, but what's really the cost of cash. Yeah, please.
Cold, hard cash. For centuries, people have been using bills and coins to settle debt and purchase goods and services. Historically, cash has been an integral part of our daily lives, and most people have never taken the time to consider all of the hidden costs of hard currency. First, governments must design and manufacture all of the bills and coins that are in circulation. For instance, last year in the US alone, the government spent nearly $727 million on the production of paper money. And coins are even more expensive. Every 1 cent penny that the United States Mint produces costs 1.5 cents to make. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Estimates suggest that nearly 80% of the costs associated with cash are borne by banks, merchants, and private companies. These costs come in many forms. First, there is the cost of counting and sorting all of that cash. There is also the cost of transporting the cash to and from banks. And of course, securing the cash from theft. Another cost that is often overlooked is the cost of foregone interest. Cash sitting in a vault waiting to be paid out is not collecting any interest for the merchant or business. Believe it or not, governments around the world spend a lot of money disposing of cash as well. Over time, paper currency and coins get dirty, wear out, or become outdated. This currency must be collected and carefully destroyed to remove it from circulation. In countries with a high percentage of cash usage, the costs of cash can exceed 1% of total GDP. And in the end, the average consumer ends up paying for the high price of cash in the form of taxes, fees, and other costs passed down from governments, banks, and merchants. Just think of all the money that we could all save simply by using less cash.
I hope everyone can really understand that the cost of cash, it's actually not really paid by anyone or everyone of us directly, but it's already embedded into all of our daily transaction itself. So we don't really actually spend our cash for free. And that's why all the different parties in the market right now also trying to launch their digital payment, trying to really reduce the cost of cash, or try to really move away from the cash itself. So the players here, including the card scheme, Visa, MasterCard, also the telco. So like here we have a Intel, all the telco globally, they are also trying to launch their digital wallet. Or we also have the independent player, so like all those like Grab, Shopee as the e-commerce player, or some other internet giant like Google, Microsoft, Facebook. They are all launching their digital payment. And last but not least, it's also the banks. So all the banks here, they either have their own digital wallet, or they also have their pay now infrastructure. So that's really all the players right now doing the digital payment. And here it's also what's really the role of the payment it's playing in this fintech world. So if you notice that some of the US new internet giant, so including like PayPal, Stripe, so the actually stock price went so high actually recently during this pandemic, really thanks to all those like a digital payment revolution. And initially, this two company also started from the payment, but because payment is really playing the infrastructure for all of those digital solution, so that's how if you're talking about all the new fintech, they more or less actually involve the payment element. So that's why you see that some of our daily use the app like a Shopee or Grab, where actually they started from, it's also from the Shopee Pay or Grab Pay. Yeah, and here let's also look at the global market quickly. So there are three types of the market right now in the global that is really affected by the digital payment. The first type here, it's a really disrupted market by the digital payment. So some example here is China, US, and UK. So China, everyone already maybe hear some of the news there. Right now, China, they are already become kind of a cashless. So dominated by two players, Alipay and WeChat Pay. So right now in China, they don't even accept the cash anymore for most of the place. So they only accept the digital payment. And for the US, also a lot of new fintech players like PayPal or Stripe, they are also right now trying to drive the cash away. And the UK is also really embracing all those like fintech initiative. So the central bank is also very welcome for all those new innovation by playing some of the financial sandbox to encourage more and more fintech players. So that's really the first type of the market which we can really learn a lot actually as a fintech player or even ourselves. And second type, it's some of the really the established market like Canada, Japan, Germany, France, Italy, or Russia. So in these examples, in those countries, the bank is very strong already there. So right now, what the fintech do is trying to compete with the bank and trying to really lower down the cost of providing all those like financial services. And what's actually more important here, it's also the Africa, Latin America, Asia, the rest of the Asia market. So in those countries, the bank is not even actually providing the enough services or the product to the market. So the market is kind of like unbanked or underbanked. And in those markets, the fintech player is providing the infrastructure to help them to really enable the banking. And yeah, so back to you, Wendy. So we have our quiz time for question one.
Yeah, actually, before we actually go to the quiz, right?
Okay.
I just recall last year when I was in China, I don't have WeChat Pay because like most of us who are like foreigners and all that, when we go to China, we don't really have it because we need a Chinese bank account and stuff. I used to have one in Shanghai, but I was visiting. Don't scare you. I'm not trying to scare you, but I was in the heart of the pandemic phase.
Okay, wow. I know where it is.
I was in Wuhan on 2019 November. So that was the time because the whole trip was organized by companies and all that. So we were there for event. So we basically didn't spend a lot of money because everything is covered up and covered for. So but on the last few days, I was like touring around and all that. And I went to the market that has the whatever bat kind of thing. So in the market itself, right, even those auntie uncles who are like really in their very old age, we call that 大婶 that kind of thing, they don't even collect my cash. They're like, 小妹你可不可以用微信支付? But end up I gave them like notes. They are like looking at me like an alien. Yeah, so that is really, really happening in the whole China. I think nowadays, nobody, even like those 农村 kind of place, they don't even use cash at all.
Correct.
Totally zero.
Yeah.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really quite scary, especially for me. I have been living as a Chinese, but right now living in Singapore for more than 10 years, it really actually shocked me. Actually, when I
Even
was
for you.
back in China, yes, even
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
Yeah, not to mention, oh my God, for
Yeah.
you, oh my, I think it's really maybe a first time or first a few
No,
times
just
for you to visit
2019.
China.
So initially, I thought because since in this place and Wuhan and all that, Wuhan is considered quite a big city and all
Yeah.
that as well, 二线城市. So I thought maybe likely people will still be more friendly, but they really look at me like an alien. I'm like, why am I giving cash to them? Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think the whole world will really go cashless soon?
Sure, that's I think what actually we are sharing right now. So every market, every country definitely have
Yeah.
its own problem and
Yeah.
also have its own culture and also consumer behavior. So here in Singapore, I think it's really famous for the kiasu. So everyone talking about something new. It's also
Yeah.
actually we need to also consider about actually it's a risk. So when we are trying to promote the digital payment, like 5 years ago, a lot of people are asking, hey, right now I'm using this QR code scanner to scan that payment.
Yeah.
So is there some virus? Will the virus come to my mobile phone of those one? So
Yeah,
you will
yeah.
see a lot of questions like this. Yes, people want to try, but they also
Scared, right?
are a little bit scared. They want to actually make sure that this is something really proved by the market.
Yeah.
But right now, due to the pandemic, everyone already we have the habit of scan all the this safe entry code.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
right now
yeah.
is getting used to scan the QR code.
Yeah.
And then everyone knows, okay, so QR code is not really scary
Yeah.
for the digital payment. So more and more people are right now willing to try the digital payment as well,
Yeah.
especially last year. But in a lot of countries, the digital infrastructure is not very ready.
Yeah.
So in one of our market, like Africa, so people there, they don't even have a smartphone. So, but one of the digital wallet was still very popular in Africa called M-Pesa. They don't have a smartphone. Then how they use the mobile phone to do the digital payment? They just use the so-called like a SMS. They use some of the text message to transfer between each other. But at least actually it works.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
helps them to solve the problem of carry actually the cash.
Yeah.
And the problem about cash, it's really sometimes you got a fake note. Sometimes you also, if you want to buy something expensive, you also need to actually bring really a very heavy note.
Yeah.
So that's also the really potential risk.
Yes.
What if you got some fake note there? What if you got really like robbed or something? So
Yeah,
that's also
yeah.
something happened in China before.
Yeah.
So if I carry all the like notes right now, especially in China, the buying power is really increasing. But the largest actually note is still 100 yuan, which is only
Yes,
20
I
Sing
know.
dollar. So
That's
you will see a
crazy.
lot of times people are
Yeah.
really having trouble using the cash. That's why the cost is really significant enough in China to use the cash. Then people really tend to. They really prefer to use the digital wallet.
Yeah.
As actually what you see there. But in Singapore right now, I will see the credit card is still very convenient. So it's taking a little bit more time for people really to try out, then to figure out what's really the benefit of using the digital wallet. But for the country like Africa, they are actually the cost of using cash is much higher. So that's why it's
agree.
much easier for them.
Yeah.
So in the emerging market, I will say they will adapt the digital payment maybe in a faster manner. But in the country like a developing country like Singapore or some of the other like a market well served by the bank already, so it will take some time to really reinvent the infrastructure.
Zack, can I ask you one question? Have you
Sure.
ever go without any cash in Singapore before?
Yes.
Even without credit card?
Yes.
Really?
So,
and
yeah.
how was the experience?
Yeah, because just it happened to me just last month. Because I used to be working from home, so sometimes I just actually bring the mobile phone with me.
Okay,
but
so
without
let me
the
ask you one question. You've forgotten your wallet, isn't
Yes,
it?
I forgotten the wallet.
Same here.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
having this experience that I've forgotten my wallet. So
Yeah.
what happened? Did you manage to
then
survive the whole
my
day?
family asked me, you need to also buy the breakfast for tomorrow. Then, okay, I go to find some of the bakery shop. Then I already actually buy everything. Then I realized, oh my God, I forgot to bring the wallet. And this shop does not accept the digital wallet. Then you know what I end up with? Then the shop owner asked me to really do the pay now transfer. At least right now, the pay now still very, very convenient. So I can do like a P2P transfer, to really pay for it. So
Yeah.
at least I don't
managed
really
to
come
do
back
it.
with
Yeah,
empty hand.
yeah.
Yes.
So my experience was that shop itself, I was actually shopping at Paya Lebar Square.
Okay.
No, Paya Lebar Quarter. So in a shopping mall, I usually thought things would be fine because I've been living. Sometimes I really go without any cash. I just bring my wallet out. I don't even bring wallet. I bring my handphone out. Sometimes with credit card, sometimes without credit card. Just my Easy Link and all that to get things settled. So that shop itself is pretty amazing in a way that they don't actually accept any forms of payment, not even for your normal PayLah and PayNow.
Okay.
Yeah. So what kind of thing that you think this kind of SME should look into embracing, or what is your thought in this thing? Since you're a
Sure.
FinTech, enthusiasts and all that.
Yeah, sure. So that's still actually goes back to a few years back because they are not really alone. They are not really some special case for this type of
I
SME.
just cannot imagine that in a shopping mall for a shop
Yeah.
doesn't accept it. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Like a few years back when the government asking us to promote the SGQR. So SGQR is some government initiative. They wanted everyone to really go for cashless
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah.
But when we try to actually really start to promote of those one in the early days, few of the merchant actually really accepting the digital payment. And some of the merchant, especially in those hawker centers,
Yeah.
they think that they are very fast actually dealing with the cash already. So if you teach them to use a digital wallet, it takes more time for them to figure out how to use this one, whether I have a receipt or payment or not.
Yeah.
That was really a few years back.
Yes.
They are very, very reluctant. And they say that actually, if you actually come back to me again, I will really use my digital. Oh my God. Yeah, that's actually how scary it was like a few years back when we tried to promote the digital payment. But yes, so that's why actually we definitely actually failed to convert this merchant into our client. But along the years, then we promote actually the digital payment to a few of his neighbors.
Yeah.
Then when his neighbors all actually getting used to the digital payment,
Then they come back
then
to
this
you.
merchant realized, okay,
I'm left out.
okay, yeah, they are kind of like having the fear of missing out. That's also like a kind of like castle. Then that's the moment, okay, they start to also think about, okay, maybe digital payment is also not so
Yeah,
bad.
it's like a peer pressure kind of thing, right?
Correct.
Everyone's like just putting this wait and see.
Yes.
你先做，我先看。
Yeah.
Right, that kind of attitude, right?
Yeah, then sometimes you really lose the client because if you don't accept my payment, then the client also can go to another shop which actually is accepting the payment.
Which actually, that's what I did. I really shopped everything. I bought everything. I'm like, oh, just you don't accept.
Yes.
And I have to go to another shop to purchase it.
Yeah.
That's really indeed a real life case study and just happened last month. So two of us
Yeah.
have this situation last month itself.
Yeah, that's exactly the value added that we are trying to provide actually as
Yeah.
the aggregator for all the digital payment for the merchant as well.
Amazing, great. So now let's come back to the slide itself, which is actually the quiz. That was something that came to my mind that I thought that I wanted to share out to all our friends right here when we talk about FinTech, okay? So question 1, who invented the first credit card? Is it Visa, Master, Union Pay, Diners, or American Express, okay? So for friends, if you are logged in right now or any time from now, we know that now is Father's Day and all, if you like to come forward tomorrow, even for day after as well, up to Tuesday, to answer this question, you might be one of the lucky winner that walks away with this $10 NTUC voucher, okay? So that's the question there. So now time to part 2 itself, is that? Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So the part 2, with the background, we know what's really the digital payment and also what's some of the market right now globally. So we want to talk about a little bit more about how actually it really related to every one of us and what's really the digital payment in Singapore here. So as Wendy mentioned also just now, so Singapore last year, they really give out 4 digital banking license. So 2 full banking license to the Grab and Singtel Consortium, 1 to Shopee, and 2 wholesale banking license, 1 to Greenland, 1 to Ant Financial. So Singapore government is also pushing for all those digital banking initiative. And for the digital payment, it's also the same. So here it's also what you see that around 3 years back. So initially when the digital payment actually come out, one thing that you can find actually in Hawker is there are so many QR codes. So they are also kind of confused. They don't know which QR code that they can use and which one is really the best. Then our merchant also come to ask us, hey, which is really the most popular wallet? I only want to accept all those most active wallets, but the rest, let me think about whether I want to get it or not. So that's also the problem that the government realized. The Singapore should not really be really confused of all those options. So that's why government also invented. They did this so-called the world's first standardized QR code issued by the government, SGQR. So that's something 3 years ago was really something new to even the whole world. But right now, it's already actually something you can find it everywhere in almost actually every merchant that we went. Yeah, so FOMO Pay, we were very lucky to be one of the pioneer members to help the government to really promote this SGQR initiative.
Zack, I understand that there's only 10 over companies that's being selected, right?
Yes.
And most of them are B2C.
Yeah, so the partner we are working together at that time, including all the banks, so definitely DBS, OCBC, UOB,
Yes.
also the Kaskin, Visa, Mastercard, all those Union Pay players. So FOMO Pay actually we are one of the few there specialized in the merchant solution. Yeah, so working with all those big players.
Yeah, so some audience including myself, might have this confusion, right? So there's already there's so many players out there right now. So we have things like Tada. So for those people who are new in Tada itself, right? Tada is actually also one of the ride-hailing apps, something similar like Grab as well, which they came up with this thing called Tada Fresh. And Tada Fresh is doing very well in terms of food delivery and stuff. And we have another player as well, our Food Panda, that recently came up with so many other things, Deliveroo as well. They're coming up with grocery, shopping instead of food and all. So what is so different between FOMO Pay and them? Is it just because you are B2B, or how does that work?
Okay, sure. So FOMO Pay, we are more like the solution provider for all those a merchant. So what we are providing is the one-stop digital payment aggregation. So connect to FOMO, we can help you to connect to all those digital payment. So it does not matter that our merchant is offering the food delivery or offering the ride hailing. So what actually the value added FOMO we are doing right now? It's the slide actually shown before. If the Tada or Grab you mentioned that they want to actually accepting all those different payment, they need to accept one by one. But with FOMO, that you only need to actually deal with FOMO, then we will help you to connect to all those new digital wallets.
Wow, that's indeed amazing. Okay, right. I'm pretty sure that it's very rare, B2B payment company like you guys in the market. Is there any other competitor out there?
Right now, that's actually still a very niche market. So,
you guys are the only
a
one.
lot of people all trying to launch one more wallet. So in Singapore, already more than 40 different digital wallets.
Yes.
But FOMO Pay, what we are trying to do is really the last thing we are going to do is to launch a digital wallet ourselves. So that's why actually we can really partner with more and more wallets. So eventually we have one common enemy, which is cash. So we are just trying to work together with all the industry players, try to really reduce the usage of cash.
So I would say that your USP, your unique selling point, is really to aggregate all the payment wallets that's already out there, including the bank, just building the infrastructure to make sure that things are smooth. You're like a screwdriver, right?
Yes.
Trying to make sure that everything goes and gels well for all the payment scenery.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool,
That's also something we
interesting.
are helping even the banks to do that as well.
Yeah.
Because right now banks is also kind of like a fear of missing out because they also feel the threat from the digital payment itself. So some of the banks is also working with FOMO together, trying to really promote for the digital payment.
Okay, cool, great, interesting. And let's take a look at the next item itself. So yeah, why is it related to me? I mean, for normal users.
Okay, sure. So after the SGQR launch, I think more and more people right now really know more about the digital payment itself. But the whole FinTech industry is not only about the payment. So here it's also what actually government launched for the P2P transfer, which is the pay now. So everyone can use your NIC and the mobile phone to do the transfer itself. And this is something that all the bank is supporting right now. And it's kind of actually had a really great success during the past few years, and especially during the pandemic. And here it's also the landscape in our neighbors. We can already see that Singapore is already in this so-called game-changing stage. A lot of our neighbors here in the ASEAN, it's really learning how actually Singapore government is running the payment and the FinTech side, because Singapore side actually already benefited quite a lot from the digital payment infrastructure itself. And this is the policy that actually Singapore did for the past 30 years. So everyone knows that actually NETS, they was actually one of the earliest player in the market. So around like 30 years ago. So they have a NETS. Then later on, we also have the EasyLink card for the transportation. Then later on, government also, the ABS, the Association of Banker in Singapore, they launched something called the FAST. It's for the interbank transfer. Yeah. Then after that, the net. So with the ABS help, they also launched the Pay Now. So not only they can do the bank transfer, but right now they can also do the P2P transfer linked to the NIC and the mobile number. And then the Pay Now Corporate is also trying to solve something similar to what actually FOMO we are trying to do, is to help the SME or help the corporate client to accept digital payment. And 3 years ago, in 2018, the government also said that yes, it's good that so many different wallets it's launching, trying to reduce the use of cash, but they also need a common standard, which is the SGQR here. And last year, so MS also opened the access of the bank to the non-bank faster access as well. So they are welcome also like a FinTech player and also the bank to work together, try to push for this digital payment or the cashless society. And yeah, that's why last year they also have some new Payment Service Act launched, so that more and more players now can be regulated and can be the financial institution as well, to really push for the new digital innovation in this financial services industry. And this is one of the quote from the president of Tencent. It's also the parent group of WeChat Pay. So he says that in the next 10 years, all financial institutions will really become the financial technology company, and new players will join the market. So what it means is that the financial company, it's not only about the banks, but right now, every company, as long as you are dealing with the consumer data, you have some loyalty solution, or you are really having the trust, you need to build the trust with the client, then you are kind of like adding the financial element. Because with the consumer data, with actually the trust relationship, you can really upsell the financial product to your client as well. That's what actually FinTech companies they are doing right now. So I will say that every company in future, they will more or less have such like a financial element. Every company actually will become kind of the FinTech. So it's not only about the FinTech company right now we are doing today, but every one of you as a personal or as a professional, you will see that actually really the FinTech is going to be in every part of our life. Yep. That's all about my sharing today, and I want to end up with one more video to share with everyone what's really the benefit of this open kind of like a financial ecosystem. Yes, please.
Digital payments have revolutionized the way that people everywhere pay and accept money for goods and services. Consumers and merchants no longer have to worry about the inconvenience and security risks involved with carrying around large amounts of cash in order to pay for the things they need. But the benefits of digital payments go well beyond just convenience and security. It turns out that digital payments also expand the potential customer base for merchants, reduce cash and check handling costs, provide access to financial services to many previously unbanked populations, and bring many shadow economy transactions into the formal economy, increasing tax revenues for government. All of these factors combine to reduce overall friction for the economy, leading to increased spending and consumption. This increased spending in turn justifies greater production, an increase in jobs, higher wages, and overall economic growth. But just how much have digital payments contributed to economic growth? A recent study by Moody's Analytics examined the effect that digital payments had over 5 years in 70 countries in order to answer this question. The results of the study showed that digital payments contributed an astounding $296 billion to the GDP. In addition, around 2.6 million jobs were created per year, or nearly 0.5% of total employment in the countries studied. Across the countries studied, on average, a 1% increase in digital payments adoption equated to around $104 billion in GDP growth. This growth was shown across the board in both developed and developing nations, providing huge potential return for emerging countries, where adoption of digital payments is still in the early stages. So, the effect of digital payments goes well beyond just convenience. Digital payments actually have the potential to drive economic growth, expand economies, increase the number of jobs, and drive financial inclusion around the world, while at the same time increasing security, reducing the shadow economy, and making payments easier for everyone, everywhere.
Okay, so that indeed is actually an interesting video, all right? And that brings us to the quiz time number 2. But right now, actually, I do have friends right here who are asking some questions and stuff. So friends, if you do have any questions that you would like to pose to us, do feel free to drop it down into the comment button itself, okay? And we do have friends, like example, we have Sally. Sally, thanks for your answering for the question 1, but please remember to like and share in order to be entitled to win yourself a $10 NTUC voucher, yeah? Okay, so right now we come to the question 2 itself. How many digital banking licenses the MAS issued in 2020? Okay, is it 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7? Okay, if you pay attention just now, I'm pretty sure you know the answer. If not, you can always watch the replay and answer it later on. Okay, so this is the quiz number 2, which is how many digital banking licenses the MAS issued in 2020? All right, so Zack, right now we do have one question, yeah, and this question is actually posted by our viewer here called Dave. So Dave actually asked this question: any plans to revamp or promote FOMO Pay to make it more widely adopted in Singapore? So what's your plan now?
Sure. So I think, last year, really thanks for the pandemic, it really helped us to really increase a lot of our acceptance. So I will say before the pandemic, our acceptance rate was still quite limited due to the reason that a lot of the merchants, they don't really understand what's really the benefit of accepting the digital payment exactly. But with the pandemic, right now, I think it really helped us to do a lot of market education. So that's why right now we are also really also increasing our so-called the merchant acceptance team. So right now our team is also working very hard to get all those clients served. So right now our
you mean grants for SME?
Yeah,
grants?
for both of the SME and the big corporates. So we are
so what kind of
increasing
grants
the team.
are they able to adopt? Let's say for SMEs and all that. So what kind of grants are they available for them to?
Yes,
adopt?
the government actually is also providing a few actually very helpful grants also. So this one, I don't have the details right now, but there is definitely actually some of the grants to help them to accepting. Depends on which industry they are in. But yeah, definitely there are some grants helping them to accept this digital payment. And for FOMO Pay, we are also definitely helping the government, also helping all those digital wallet player try to really work together, try to really promote for this digital payment. That's really our plan.
I see. All right. So I wanted to ask you one more question about global market. So right now you have, a big financial group from Hong Kong, which is a list code backing you guys. So what is the plan for overseas market then besides Singapore?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the Singapore right now, I think I will say it's kind of like already well accepted for the digital payment. It will just actually take a few years for more people actually to really get used to the digital payment. But really, what's something we think actually a larger opportunity? It's not really within Singapore, but it's really within the few countries that still suffered from the pandemic right now. So you look at our neighbors right now, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, they are still suffering actually in the pandemic. So a lot of industry in there, in those countries, especially in the brick and mortar business, they are still suffering from the pandemic. So the digital payment, it's really something that can really help them. So that's also something that we are also trying to help it for all those like a market as well.
So since you're working very closely with all the Chinese banks as well, and WeChat and all, just wanted to know some insider news from you to benefit our audience as well. What do you think about the Chinese yuan and also Singapore in the long run? Let's say 2 years time or 1 year's time.
Yeah,
because now
sure.
pandemic, right? Very hard to determine what's going to happen within the next 1 year, right? So let's talk about 1 to 2 years time then.
Yeah, sure. So I think some of the audience, if they really pay attention to this industry, then the digital yuan, the DCEP, digital currency electronic payment in China, it's kind of really the most popular topic in China, and they are trying to really push for this so-called globalization of Chinese yuan. So that's something definitely that China is really trying to open its market, so make it actually more global. And we are also working with some of the banks actually very closely, try to see maybe when actually the digital currency is going to be ready, then how actually we are going to make it available for everyone. But right now, the digital currency is still in the very, very early stage. So what we are doing right now is still actually working with the digital wallet and also with the bank. So it's right now, if you want to actually do the business with the China market, with the help of digital wallet, so you can use the WeChat Pay, Alipay to accept the payment from your customer in China, or you can also use the bank, which is the one actually also work with FOMO. We also help the SMEs to really do the cross-border transfer with the China market as well.
I understand. That's great. Okay, we have one more question here from Chu. Is it possible to have a unified mobile wallet in Singapore? There are too many mobile wallet apps.
That's a really amazing question. That's also something that I wish. But due to the fact that maybe let me give you one example here. How many credit cards do you have? So in the public data we got, it's really in Singapore average we have 4 credit cards. So given that so many people they only have even 1 credit card, so you will see that some people actually they even have maybe 7 or 10 credit cards. So that's really the consumer behavior, because you have 1 credit card for maybe shopping, 1 credit card for the flights, 1 credit card maybe for some other spending. But that's also the nature of the mobile wallet. So every mobile wallet, they can only help you to try to replace 1 credit card. But maybe if there is a time that there is only 1 credit card can replace you for all spending, I think that's really the ideal digital wallet, can replace all the current digital wallet app in your phone as well. So it will take a little bit time. So I don't really think that there should be actually so many wallets, but every wallet definitely have its own unique selling point. As right now, why we are holding so many credit cards as well, because there is also some of the benefit, some of the unique really selling point over there. So it's just will take some time for really the market to really consolidate and give the best option.
And
available.
I'm pretty sure with all this combination of digital banking, plus consolidation of all the wallets and all that, things will really happen a lot, right? I mean, especially for the next 1 year, I believe that in Singapore market, there's a lot of things that's going to happen, right? So we come to almost the end of the program right here for today. So a last note, Zack, what do you think you want to share to all our audience right here in terms of FinTech? Is it still a good time for people like entrepreneurs to come into this market, or to start out their own FinTech? Or should they, let's say if they're SME, to really start adopting? Or if people who are like normal consumers and all that, should they start really looking into how they can benefit in terms of fintech?
Okay, sure. So I think maybe I talk about the professional side first. If anyone still want to actually do another like a payment company or something, it's a little bit too saturated right now. So back to the question asked just now, there are so many digital wallets already in Singapore, so it's not really easy, to really survive as a payment company. So if you want to start another company or something, feel free that maybe FOMO Pay we can help you to figure out some unique point. So that's for the professional side. Then for the personal side, I want to share with everyone right now, the cash usage in Singapore is still actually quite high. Even that we have been really pushed so much, and also the pandemic also helps quite a lot. But the cash usage is still actually quite high in Singapore. So today's session we shared actually the cost of cash. So it's really right now bared by the bank right now, but eventually we are the one paying for that. So hope everyone can really learn what's really the cost of cash. And in future, we can really help Singapore to really build a smart nation and push for this cashless society together.
All right, okay. So indeed, thank you so much for all our guests right here. I believe that right here for this year, Singapore is definitely going to go to the smart nation, yeah?
Okay.
All right, so once again, thank you so much, Zack, for joining us right here. And thank you so much for all our friends right here. And meanwhile, at the same time, do stay safe. Tomorrow, everyone is opening up. And we hope that you have an enjoyable night tonight right here on the Sunday. We are signing off right here for now. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.